welcome to this episode of the DJ Interview with your host, Harry the Big Dog.
And that be me. What's up, everyone? Harry the Big Dog here with another episode of the DJ Interview. Let us know where you are watching from, who you are, and where you are watching from. Put it in the chat right now. So, I am on my portable set right up. Y'all don't see nothing in the background right now. I'm on my laptop. I bought a new laptop, so I can, be a little more portable and be able to do these DJ interviews from anywhere, as long as I got an internet connection, of course. So don't mind the plain background. Yo, today we going West Coast again to the Bay Area. Let me bring this cat on right now. He's been DJing for a little while. We gonna get his story. DJ Tony Valera. What is up, my brother?
Surviving the game, brother.
Oh man, how you doing today?
I am blessed. Thank you.
Yes.
I am blessed.
Welcome.
I'm on the right side of the dirt.
Yes. You got on the wake up list today, right?
I'm on the wake up list. Amen.
Welcome to the DJ Interview. Now, usually I little chit chat stuff, but you got a story for everybody who don't know. Tony Valera, DJ Tony Valera, this is his 40th year. He started in 1981, around the time when I started. And then retired, and then got back into the game. So, yo, Tony, let's hear your story. How did you get your name, and did you have another name prior to this?
No, I've always Tony is actually my middle name.
Okay.
And so my real name is Michael okay. Anthony. But I've always been Tony since I was a little kid. It's either Tony or Tonito if I was in trouble. So Tony has always been my name. And the only people who ever call me Michael are police or
when you was in trouble, right?
I was in trouble. That was the only
Michael?
time. Yeah, exactly. Even my mom would never call me Michael. So it's the name I've always had. And now I have had some other names in radio because I was working in a similar market and I wasn't supposed to be. So I had to take an alias, and in radio, they don't see you. So I had to assume an alias while I was working at a station in San Jose.
Oh, okay.
So
let's start with your story. 1981, little Tony, little Tonito wants to DJ. How did he get into this business?
I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I had just graduated high school, and I was at a birthday party for my brother's ex-girlfriend. He had married Bobby Roquet, who was a part-time DJ at KSOL. And Bobby and I started talking at the party, and he says, well, what are you going to do now that you graduated? I said, I have no idea. I don't know. I know I want to go to college, but I don't know what career I want to follow.
Right.
So he says, well, he goes, you're very personable. He goes, and you don't have a face for TV. So he goes, I'm in radio.
And we're going to talk about that because you got TV in your other name.
Yeah. So he says, you ought to take a shot at DJing. It's a lot of fun. He goes, you like music? I said, are you kidding? I grew up with music. I love music. I've always loved music. So he says, okay, so, get into it. Go to college, get into broadcasting, learn how to address audiences. But whatever you do not learn from those teachers who want to tell you how to be what he called the throw-up jock. The guys who are like, hey, how you doing? And it sounds like every time they're talking, they're trying to throw up. They're saying, just be you. You know, people like to be able to talk to you and be able to listen to you when you're somebody like their friend, or you're talking to them like we're having a conversation right now.
Right.
People don't like to be talked at, or somebody who is overbearing or overpowering them.
Right.
So I went to CSM, picked up some broadcasting classes, actually started working at the radio station there, KCSM. And in fact, me and a buddy of mine actually started the jazz format at KCSM, which to this day is still their primary format. It's the whole radio station is all about. And we actually rolled it out because at that point in time, they were doing, it was just a hodgepodge. Anybody who went on could do whatever they wanted to do. And him and I were doing middays. We would rotate days, and I was doing jazz and he was doing jazz, and it caught on and people started really digging it. So they're like, you know, this is the other jocks at the station are like, well, this is what we want to do. So next thing you know, the whole station flipped to doing jazz, and that's all they've been doing for 40 years now. So it's another feather in my cap.
So tell us about this KSOL.
KSOL 107.7. Number one R&B station in the Bay Area back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. In the 80s, we were competing against the number one station in the Bay Area, and it was at first it was a rock station.
Right.
Then it was a top 40 station. They were always number one. And my program director and music director said, we are going after them. We want to be number one, or at least knock them out of being number one.
Right.
So we did it. We were really aggressive. And, skipping forward, there's so much history and so much involved in what I did back then. But, at first I got brought in as an intern. I was a part-time intern. I was going to school. I was a brand new father. I had my first son at 20 years old, and so it was different. I was busy. My father had taught us to be workaholics, and to this day I work nonstop. And people are always saying, "Dude, it's like 2:00 in the morning. You're still working?" Yeah, well. So it's got to get done. So you got to do what you got to do. So, so I was an intern, and then eventually, and I keep telling this to people all the time. They ask me, "Well, how did you do this? And how did you get into this? And how were you able to accomplish this or that?" And it really has to do with the right place, right time. Yeah. Every single time. They needed an intern. I was friends with a part-time jock there. And he was friends with the program director, got me in as an intern. One day, somebody called in sick for a weekend shift overnight on a Saturday night. It was midnight to 6 a.m. And we had nobody to cover. And my program director turns to me and says, "Hey, you're going to school to be an announcer. You know how to run the board. You've been an intern, so you worked on commercials, and you know how to do everything that it takes.
Yeah.
Can you crack a mic, and can you keep the people entertained?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And so I did it, and it was, again, right place, right time. And after that, they started giving me more part-time gigs. At the time, we had two of the world's best known DJs working for us, spinning mixed DJs. We had Cameron Paul, who was working for us at the time. Cameron was a very good friend of Bobby Roquet's, who was the guy who got me into radio. Right. So Bobby taught me how to mix, how to DJ. Cameron taught me how to DJ. Cameron would take me aside sometimes and, show me tricks and show me, how to work a crowd and how he worked in the clubs. He was huge. Worldwide, Cameron Paul was huge. And then we had Michael Erickson, who was in charge of the mix shows. And the funny thing is that Michael and I went to high school together. He was a couple of years older than me.
Right.
And I was actually friends with his sister, Connie. So we knew each other from high school, but not very well because he was a couple of years older than me. And when I got to the radio station, he's like, well, welcome. It's great you're here. And then I told him, hey, Cameron and Bobby taught me how to mix, and I can mix. So he put me in the mix show, and I started doing mixes with them. So it was me, Cameron Paul, Michael Erickson. Now, eventually we brought in more guys. We brought in guys like Prince Ice. We brought in Donnie Afeef.
My boy, Prince Ice.
Prince Ice, yeah, Richard, love him to death. But, we brought more people in, and, we had a pretty solid mix show. And we started creeping up the ladder coming after KMEL.
Right.
And then at one point, Cameron left. Michael Erickson left. They both went over to KMEL.
Wow.
And so it was just me.
Wasn't that the enemy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had lots of money. They had, at the time it was Evergreen. Or I think it was Evergreen was the company before Clear Channel. And they had deep pockets. So, they wooed those two over there. Both of them were there. And, KSOL didn't have money at the time. We were owned by a small company on the East Coast who had a couple radio stations, but nothing big. And so they left. And my program director turns to me and says, it's you now. Right place, right time. He's like, you're the only one left. So I guess you're our mix show. And, start building up a staff, start bringing people in. Let's start doing it. We were actually the very first radio station in Northern California to go live. The program director went out and bought 1200s, bought a Newmark mixer, bought a coffin, set it up at the radio station, and I went live. We were mixing live. We were the first ones to ever do it. And everybody at the time, everyone was doing mixtapes. Everyone was doing reel-to-reels, splicing them together. They were great production.
Right.
They drop off the reels, and, the jock on the air would play the reels and talk over it. And it was great, but nobody was witness to a live show. And so next thing you know, we're doing live shows.
Live radio shows. Wow.
Yeah. It was the first of its
back then.
Yeah, we're talking like, I think it was probably 85, 86. At one point, at the time, I was now a part-time employee doing the mix shows, part-time on air, and I was part-time in the production department.
Right.
So, I'm heading into the radio station one day during rush hour in the afternoon, and I'm stuck in traffic the whole time. And I'm flipping through the dial, and I'm like, I need to hear some music. I need to get my mind off of this traffic. Flipping through, talk, radio, there's commercials, just nobody playing music, right? So I get to the radio station, and I turn to my program director, and I say, you know what? He says, what? I said, we need to do a mix show at 5 o'clock, and we're going to call it the 5 o'clock traffic jam. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? I said, we're going to mix live, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to mix, and it'll be, whether it's, a 35-minute set, because of course you had to hit your commercials at 35.
Right.
Started exactly at 5 o'clock. We roll until 5:35. No commercials, no spots, no drops, nothing. Just straight music in the mix, and let the people enjoy it as they're stuck in traffic. Huge success. Took off like crazy. It ended up rolling down to Kiss FM in LA
Right.
took it up, which is another funny story because the guy at Kiss FM, who was a music director there, ended up coming up to Wild after we flipped the station and ended up taking my job. So, but again, you know, we put together a great mix team. We had some great shows. We had a Saturday night mix show with hey, my brother DJ Don Julio just checked in.
Yeah.
And so we had a Saturday night hip hop show, and we brought in at the time Chuy Gomez was working part time for us. Chuy came in and it was Chuy, Billy Jam, and they were doing a live hip hop show. And we were bringing in artists from all over the country, and it was amazing, the shows that we were doing. They were performing. Hi, Mom. Hey, there's DJ Made's here. My mom checks in. My mom always checks in. Love you, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
If you weren't listening, Mom, I was just telling you that sometimes I was Tonito. So
when he got in trouble.
When I got in trouble. So we had some really cool shows and some really cool jocks coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I found this kid who was DJing at a high school DJ competition. He was a senior in high school, and I was one of the judges. And I'm like, this dude he's a real deal. So I brought him into the radio station. I said, I want you on our mix shows. He's like, okay, cool. So, you know, who's going to say no? You know, so we're the up and coming radio station. And he's like, hell yeah, I'll do it. Dave Meyer, who ended up starting Wicked Mix, which was, you know, Cameron had Mix It. And Dave Meyer had him and Fabian Polito started Wicked Mix, but he started at our radio station as one of our jocks. There's my brother Will. What's up, bro? We brought some talent in there. We had this female that somebody told me, you got to go check out this girl at this club in San Francisco. And I'm like, okay. So I said, what's the name of the club? And they said, it's called the End Up. And I'm like, wait a minute. The End Up? They say, yeah, it's a
strip club.
It's a gay bar.
Oh,
like, oh hell no! I am not. You are not catching me going into a gay bar. They're like, you got to do it, bro. You got to go there. You got to check this girl out. So I did it. I went there, and she was the real deal too. Lily Tron brought her in, and she made some noise. She was a real deal. So she has since given up. Dave Meyer has given up. Dave Meyer is now a stay-at-home dad. He is Mr. Mom now. So, it is what it is. But so, I was there for a while. I actually broke. I was at Pebble's record release party, and this is
nice.
Things. So Pebble had a record release party for the first album, and so I'm there. And I'm not huge, but in the Bay Area, I was pretty well known because I was at the R&B station and I was doing the mix shows and I was on the air, and I made a name for myself. And so I'm there, and this dude drives up in a red BMW, and he says, "Dude, come here, Tony, come here." So I walk over and I'm like, "What's up, dude?" I had no idea who this guy was. Right? He goes, "Dude, you got to play my record. Please play my record." Pops open the trunk and he's got all these 12-inch vinyls in there. And he hands me a couple. He says, "Please take these. These are for you. Here's a couple more. Pass them on to some of the other guys." So I look at it, and it's MC Hammer. And he was pushing this stuff out of the back of his BMW.
Wow.
And he was at Pebble's record release party. And I brought it back to the station, and I put it on, and I'm like, holy crap. You know, and this is the original Ring 'em. This isn't the Capitol Record doctored up Ring 'em. This is the original Ring 'em.
Right.
And it was MC Hammer and the Holy, I can't even remember what the Holy something, but I'm like, oh, damn. So I started playing it in the mix shows, busting it out, playing it handed it out to the rest of the guys on the mix crew. We're playing it like crazy. Our music director turns to me and says, this is a real deal. Marvin Robinson starts putting it on the radio. Next thing you know, Hammer's blowing up, and everybody wants a piece of Hammer. You know, as a matter of fact, Marvin Robinson was good friends with the one of the top guys at Capitol Records.
Right.
And set up the interview with Hammer to you know, because they wanted Hammer, and so he set it up for him. And you know, I get a call one day, and it's Hammer saying, "Yo, I just signed the deal with Capitol Records."
Oh man.
Yeah. And after that, he just blew up, just huge. He was already big in the club scene and the underground scene in the Bay Area. He would go to Silk's and perform at Silk's nightclub, and people were they were losing their mind. I mean, you've seen Hammer perform, so imagine having Hammer perform at a nightclub where you're hanging out.
Oh, man.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Ryan goes. I got some people out here.
I know.
Mimi's here. Of course, my mom. There's my brother. Well, BTP, Jeff Kahn's in the house.
Jeff.
And look at Brian's like,
look.
And Brian wasn't even a radio jockey at the time. He was a club jockey. He was a pretty well-known club jockey. But I'm like, dude, play this in your club. So there you go.
That's Jeff. Let me enlarge myself. Jeff. This is a definite thank you for looking out, bro. Jeff sent me this shirt a couple of months ago, and now I'm just getting a chance to wear it. It's big on me. You know, I lost a little weight now, so I'm thinking I'm the Don.
You know what?
Now I want one of them shirts. You got one.
Jeff sent me one, and somebody stole it. Somebody stole it and got the.
I didn't steal it.
Community mailboxes. Somebody stole. Were you near my house, dude?
What size is it?
So radio was good to me. I met a lot of people, made a lot of friends.
Yeah,
had a lot of relationships. They were just, the real strong relationships. I'm still friends with Michael Cooper from Confunction. I call him every once in a while. Michael, how you doing? Michael's good people. I actually DJ'd his daughter's 16th birthday party many years ago.
You showing your age now?
Yeah, no kidding. Betty D, Sweet Sensation. We still talk every once in a while. And you build these relationships, and you try to keep in touch with the people, but people take off.
Yeah.
People, they
get disconnected.
Yeah. So it's nice to run into people again. I just recently started chatting with Ieski again. Him and I hadn't spoken in 30 years, and he was on one day, and he was on Instagram, and I jumped on, and he's like, "Oh shit, Tony Valera, what's up, bro?" Now we're talking all the time. He just sent me some new music. He's like, "Check this music out. It's another project I'm working on."
Man,
cool. Which is funny because, like I was saying before, I was telling you off camera.
Yeah,
I was out of the industry. I did, like I said, I started out as an intern, worked my way up. I was part-time announcer, part-time mix DJ. Then I ended up part-time production director. So I was putting together all the commercials. Then I moved my way up, and next thing you know, I'm doing full-time of everything.
Right. You pretty much owned the radio station after that, right?
Well, it was funny because at one point, they brought somebody in to be our program director and our music director, and they brought him in from the Midwest, and they had no clue what they were doing. And we had a consultant by the name of Jerry Clifton. Jerry's going to hate me if he ever hears this, but I hate him. I hated Jerry. Jerry, the thing is that Jerry was cool for doing stuff in Texas and, Oklahoma or, somewhere in the Midwest. But don't come to San Francisco and tell me what I'm supposed to play, because this is the Bay Area.
Right.
We have a whole different take on music.
Right.
And you can't come, just like you can't go into Manhattan or into New York and tell them what to play if you're living in, you're at the time, you're a 35 or 40-year-old white man living in Texas, and you're going to tell me what to play at an R&B station in San Francisco. It ain't happening. And so we used to butt heads all the time. He was our consultant. And at the time, I was helping with the music. Then they ended up bringing these guys in who were referred by Jerry. Two guys. I am going to name them. Bob Mitchell and Cliff. I can't even remember Cliff's name. They ended up running the radio station, and the station started tanking. So they immediately let them go.
Wow. One
day we walk in, they say, okay, we have this big staff meeting. We're all in there. And they say, okay, so Bob and Cliff are both gone. And they're like, we're looking at our operations manager, and we're like, our general manager, we're like, well, who's running the station then? Who's programming it? Who's running the music? And he looks at me and Ron Cadet, and he says, you two are. Ron Cadet is now interim program director. You are assistant program director, and you are now the music director. Just like that. It was just, again, right place, right time. And
right place, right time.
And so we rolled with it. We ran with it. We had some veterans working for us at the time who were just like, because I was a young kid. I was 25, 26 years old, maybe a little older at the time. But it's like we had guys who had been at the radio station for 15 years, guys who were in their, mid 40s, early 40s, who were like, they were cool.
That was old back then.
Well, we were all cool. We were such a tight family. They were all cool with it, but it was different. It was different to have two young cats running the radio station. Right. Fourth oldest market in the country. First job for me, first real radio job I ever had. And here I am, programming the radio station. And it's funny because we took over, and then back then, and they probably still do it now, they had the Arbitron ratings. And back then, we were ranked number 11 in the market.
Wow.
Number 11. And KMEL was number 1. And we took over that station, and within 2 ratings books, we moved up into number 4. We moved up oh shoot, sorry, give me 1 second. I forgot I moved my laptop over here and didn't plug it in. Give me 1 sec.
We will be back. We will be back.
I am so sorry.
I want to thank everybody. Put in the chat if you are having a good time right now. Put in the chat. We kind of lost him for a second. He's got to plug his laptop in. But put in the chat. Let me know, what do you think of DJ Tony Valera, excuse me. His younger brother saying Jason Clark and Leslie Stovall. Yeah. We will get him back soon, but definitely thank you guys for showing up, put in the chat. How do you know DJ Tony Valera? I know his mother's on the line. I know his brother's on the line. I know Jeff is checking in. Who else is checking in? Let's go and look at the chats. Oh man. Let me see who is checking in. Will. Hey Will, was Tony a good brother? I think that's your older brother. But was he a good brother? Put in the chat. Let me know. Let me know. So while we're waiting on oh, that's Tony's mom. Brian, what's going on? Checking in. DJ Darkman. We gotta get you on the DJ interview. I know you got a story. DJ Darkman, that name is a story. But let me just give you a couple of updates for some upcoming episodes that's coming on. Mixcloud is really taking off and doing their thing. I'm gonna have a couple of review videos on Mixcloud and all the updates that is coming for those DJs who do spin legally. I know Twitch is there. I don't see you, Tony. Tony, if you hear me, log out and log back in. I do not see you. Let me I heard it, but there's no video. All right. Oh. All right. Does everybody hear me? Hey, let me know in the chat if you guys could hear me. I think the tech gods are messing with us. Okay. I am not seeing you at all. Let's get rid of that. Already did a refresh. Hold on a second, guys. We are having some tech difficulties. If you are live streaming and you've never had any tech difficulties, you haven't been streaming long enough. These things happen. It's live. I don't see you. Let me send you the, oh, there you are. All right.
I had to basically completely shut down everything and come back. I'm so sorry, man.
No problem, bro.
For those of you who didn't know, earlier beforehand, we were trying to find the best place for me to do this. So I'm at a hotel. So we're like going all around the whole hotel room, and I got a second room in this place. So I started out in that room. It's a studio room. So we started there. We went all around this room trying to find the best possible place to do this. And I wasn't going to do it in the bathroom. So we finally found this place right here that has the best lighting.
Yeah.
And I never plugged in my laptop, so I do
No
apologize.
problem. No problem. No problem. So let's continue. I got a couple of questions. Have you played outside of the California area? Have you toured?
Um, I played a couple times, not like a feature artist or doing so. A couple times I was in Vegas,
Okay.
and I was at a club in Vegas, and somebody, I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "Whoa, you used to play here, you did that." So they asked me if I wanted to spin. This was when we were doing all vinyl, so I went in there and I spun a little bit at a club in Vegas. Back during the time, gosh, I was. I met a DJ who was out in Houston, and they were the guys promoting, and they actually did the remix on Sopa de Caracol. This was a long time ago. Huge record. And so I flew out to Houston, and they asked me to DJ at a club out there. So I did that too. But nothing else, no feature, no going out of state to go, not like DJ's 360 or Von Kiss or Miss Ninja, or Jay Espinoza. These guys go all around the country and they DJ, guest DJ at all these different locations, and it's cool. They're great at what they do, but that's just that ship has sailed for me.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, I gave up radio back around I'm thinking it was probably around 97 when I got out of radio, and then I gave up the whole DJ thing around the same time.
Now, what made you do that? Did you just get sick of it? Did you
It's funny
not
because
have interest?
Well, like I was saying, I was I was moving my way up the ranks, and pretty soon we were running the radio station. Station took off. We became, we actually moved up from number 11 to number 4 in the market. We knocked KMEL down from number 1 to number 4. So now we were tied with them.
Wow.
And that was a huge feat for us. So all of a sudden, Clear Channel decides we want to buy this radio station. So they buy this radio station, and they, we want to bring in guys from LA to come and help you guys. So they bring a couple guys in, and it's funny because those two guys right now are huge in the industry.
Right.
Huge. Michael Martin was brought in as the music director from Kiss FM. Rick Thomas was brought in as a program director. And it's funny because Michael was very, very young and new in the game. And so when he came up to the Bay Area, I kind of had to school him on what was happening with the Bay Area music scene and so on and so forth. And he had a lot of people helping him to figure out exactly what was going on with the music scene in the Bay Area, because it's a lot different than even LA. It's a whole different scene. And he ran with it, and he worked his way up, and now I think he's vice president of programming for at iHeartRadio or something. He's huge right now.
Wow. So explain who these guys are for us East Coast people who've probably never heard of them.
Well, Michael Martin started out as music director or assistant music director at Kiss FM. When our station got sold, they brought in the consultants brought in Rick Thomas and Michael Martin, and they were young in the game. They were very, very young in the game. So myself and Ron Cadet helped them to transition into the positions that they ended up taking from us. And, we were eventually, both of us were.
You trained them to take your job.
Pretty much, yeah. But it's, and I'm totally grateful for everything that's happened to me, because when I started really at the radio station in like 82. But I was there for 12 years. And I had gone through 4 different management changes, full air staff wiped out. You know, I'd been through a couple different transitions in the air staff, format changes. I mean, we always still played the same type of stuff, but we went through phases where it's funny. I tell the story all the time, but like we went through a phase where the radio station, the consultants wanted us to be more Hispanic. So it was hilarious because you got a guy like JoJo Wright, okay, born and raised in Texas, blonde hair, blue eyes, all of 120 pounds maybe.
Wet.
Yeah, great guy, just an amazing guy. And they wanted him to roll his R's and talk like he was Hispanic. Even Rick Thomas, who was our program director, started going by Rico Tomas. It was just hilarious, some of the stuff that they were doing. And it was like, it was crazy, some of the changes that they had gone through. It's funny because JoJo Wright, if I remember right, it was JoJo, who he just couldn't change. You can't change, right? So at one point, they actually let him go and said, okay, got to let you go. So they let him go, and ratings came out a couple months later, and he was number 1.
Wow.
And so rather than having them mail, they reached out to him and said, hey, we want to mail you a check. He's like, no, I'm coming into the radio station. And he came into the radio station because he wanted to pick up the check and show them, see, you guys are paying me for being number 1, but you let me go. And it was hilarious. JoJo Wright, who was a huge Michael Jackson fan, went down to LA, got in at Kiss FM. He's still there now. He's been there for 30-something years.
Wow.
He ended up emceeing Michael Jackson's 30th birthday party at Neverland. Just rolling with the big dogs. I mean, and now he is now the iHeartRadio Countdown DJ. So, he's like the Rick Dees of nowadays. And people are probably listening going, who the hell's Rick Dees? Tim Clark, Rick Dees.
Rick Dees, yeah.
Yeah, Al, what's his name? Al, the old school guy. Gosh, I can't even remember his name now. See, I'm getting old. But anyway, so they came in. Rick Thomas came in. I helped get them started. Then the radio station let me and Ron go, and a couple other people. We left. I got in with a guy named Ralph Tashian, who a lot of people know who Ralph is. Ralph was the first and I think the only person ever convicted of payola. But
wow.
Ralph was in San Mateo, lived in San Mateo. Ralph and I were pretty cool. Ralph was cool with Haim, who was Cameron's partner at the time. And Ralph turned me on to Gary Weinstein, who was the general manager at a radio station in Salinas. And he asked me to come down there and said, you want to work at, we got an R&B station down here. You want to work down here? You be our music director. We'll work you into being a music director. So I went down there and I worked there for a little bit. And then all of a sudden they pulled me in the office one day and they said, so we're going to buy another radio station. It's dark right now. We're going to buy the station and we're going to, we want you to become our operations manager. And we want you to run this radio station and we want you to run the existing radio station as well. And I'm like, well, I've been a program director, assistant program director. I've been a music director. I've been a production director. But yes, Cameron did have his own label. Gosh, I can't remember what the name of the label was. Well, he had Mix It, but he had another record label. He never had a record pool. He was a member of BATA, Bay Area Dance DJ Association, along with Nick Legesis, who Nick, God rest his soul, Nick was a great guy. Anyway, getting back to this story. So they tell me, okay, so, and I've been there for about 6 months working at the R&B station, and they tell me, we want you to run these radio stations, and we want you to just take them over. And so I said, okay. I said, what's the format? And they said, we can't tell you that. We can't tell you the format until you sign on the dotted line and say you're going to do it. Kind of weird. You want me to sign for something and not know what I'm doing? They're like, yeah, but you got to trust us. We trust you to run both of these stations. So I said, what the hell? Why not? I'm here. I'm doing it. And I'm commuting now from Redwood City to Salinas almost every day.
How far is that?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's about 100 miles. Yeah, maybe a little bit more.
One way?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. You was dedicated.
Yeah. So my brother's popping up all these names. Victor Saragosa, Dr. Donald D. Rose. Can't forget Rick Chase. Anyway, so I said, what the hell? I'll take it. I'll do it. So they unveil this thing, and keep in mind, we're in Salinas. Okay, Salinas is famous for the rodeos, and it's like, forgive me, but it's like a hick town. Thank you, Brother Reese. Yes, Tandem Records was the name of the label that Cameron owned with Haim Zoing from San Mateo. So I'm like, okay, what's the format? And they said, hot country. And I'm like, hell no. I am not doing hot country. At the time, honestly, I hated country. Hated country. So they're like,
wait. Back this up. What is hot country for those people who don't know what it is?
Everybody knows hot country now. But originally, when you think of country music, you think of Conway Twitty, you think of
Tennessee Ford,
Hank Williams Sr. You think of these guys, these cats. But at the time, this is when guys like Brooks and Dunn came out. This is when Travis Tritt, when one of my favorite artists, I can't even remember his name now. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. But this is when Billy Ray Cyrus was coming out. This is Martina McBride. This is when Shania Twain. That's hot country. And hot country at the time was a cross between country and almost light rock. And if you listen to the music, you'll be able to tell that, oh yeah, hell yeah, it is like there's a strong rock presence in hot country. And it was taken off at the time. The number one station in Salinas, Monterey, was K-Tom, country radio station, number one. The number two station was K-Wave. I take that back. Number two it was K-Wave at the time. Number three station was K-Dawn. They had just started working their way up. So what happens is we launched this hot country station, Cat Country. We had a freaking a mascot that was this big cat in country gear. I'm not kidding. And they tell me when we start doing these things, they're like, you got to wear Wranglers. Hell.
Well, it's saying a mad cow.
No. He's mentioning Mancow because Mancow was our morning drive guy in San Francisco. And when Clear Channel came in, Clear Channel wanted to get rid of Mancow because Mancow was kicking ass on John London. I can't remember. So what they did was Clear Channel offered Mancow a job in Chicago and paid him off to leave Wild so that he was no longer competition. Mancow's huge in Chicago now.
Wow.
So that's radio politics.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're now Cat Country, and we're going after K-Top. Within 2 books, we went. This is a station that had no ratings. We weren't even 11. We had no ratings because it's a brand new station. Mm-hmm. We went from no ratings to number 5 in the market, and we knocked K-Tom out of number 1. K-Tom dropped down to number 3 in the market. K-Wave moved up to number 1. K-Don moved up to number 2. K-Wave at the time was being programmed by the guy who originally hired me at KSOL, Bernie Moody. Was now the program director at K-Wave. So Bernie calls me when the ratings comes out. He's like, dude, he goes, I owe you, man. You just knocked K-Tom out of number 1. We are now number 1 in the market. Thank you. I owe you. I'm like, dude, you owe me nothing. You gave me my first job.
You taught me.
You gotta understand, dude. It's because of you that I'm doing what I'm doing. And,
right.
So it was great. There's you build these relationships with these people. Bernie Moody lives up in Sacramento, near Sacramento now, and we talk. We still haven't gotten together again, but we talk, and it's we still have these relationships.
Right.
But and then we're doing great. And then the R&B station, we flipped that to a jazz station. Now, if you know anything about Monterey, Salinas, Monterey is famous for the Monterey Jazz Festival. Well, they stopped doing the jazz festival about 6 or 7 years before I got down there because there wasn't a jazz station down there anymore.
Right.
So we took the 2 stations. One became a hot country station. The other one became, we flipped it from an R&B station to a jazz station and brought the ratings up, and we ended up bringing back the Monterey Jazz Festival, which is going strong again ever since then. So
I got a question.
I got put a feather in my cap for.
I got a question. What is your preferred music genre to play?
It's funny you say that. Obviously, I love R&B. I grew up on, Tavares, Enchantment, Earth, Wind and Fire. That's all. That music is, it's just feel good music. And I do
the gang, Village People.
I do a live mix show every Saturday, sometimes Tuesdays or Thursdays. But every Saturday, my format is predominantly old school R&B. I'll throw in some hip hop. I'll throw in some dance, some disco, some house. And I even throw in some stuff that people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you're playing that stuff. I'll throw in, it's funny because I've played just stuff that's completely off the wall. Barry Manilow. Or, I played REO Speedwagon last week. And people are like, REO Speedwagon? Yeah, but there's a dance version of the song. I Can't Fight This Feeling. There's a dance version of it, and I played it. But ELO, I play, Electric Light Orchestra. I play some of them.
And I asked that question because
Bobby Vincent,
I asked that question because I was listening to your mix on Mixcloud.
Okay,
it was one of the 5 o'clock traffic jams. I think number 11. and you
Okay.
played some weird record at the beginning, and then you kind of mixed in with the hip hop, and then you went to blending in some R&B stuff. And initially, I was looked like this, and then I'm like, oh, yo, this dude is dope. This dude is dope. And then you popped on as I was listening to your thing. I'm like, yo, hold on a second. Hold on. Let me cut this off. So
Yeah.
you
Brother Reese is one of my partners. I love Brother Reese. He
DJ
knows
Brother Reese.
he'll be like, dude,
Yeah, he said you could get away with that stuff.
But because I grew up, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So wide range. I play everything that I can. I mean, I've played Paul McCartney and the Wings, Neil Sedaka. I play stuff like that. But dance versions of it, people are like, oh man, I love this song. But I didn't know there was a dance version of it. It's just, it's feel good music. I love playing it, and so I'll mix it in every once in a while. And the shock factors is always pretty cool. So
let me drop this bomb on everybody. We were talking offline. We were talking offline, and you are thinking about giving all of this up and just completely stopping and dropping everything. Explain this to us.
Yeah, it's let me go back. Okay, so in 97, after our radio station took 95, 96, let's say, after our radio stations in Monterey, Salinas took off, new company came in, bought the radio station. Sorry, you're gone. Lost the job again. Got job offers in, Midwest. I got a job offer at KGGI in Riverside. I got a job offer in San Diego, and I'm like, I have a family. I have kids, and I'm like, I'm not going to pick everybody up and move
right
across state or across the country to a station that you never know if you're going to be gone. The next radio book.
Right.
So at that point, I said, I'm done. I gave up radio. I stopped. And, at the time, during all of this, I was also doing remixes for people. I was going into studio for people. I worked with Michael Cooper from Confunction. I worked on, a couple of his songs. I managed a guy named Brandon. I worked on a couple of his songs. I did a lot of remixes for record companies. I did a remix for Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. I did Belle Biv DeVoe. I did New Edition. I did some remixes for the record companies for some of this. So I was getting into the record industry, but all of this was all in the same type of groove. And at that point I was like, I got to get out of here. And just before that, I actually got flown out to Chicago, and I worked on the Ohio Players comeback album.
Okay.
Had all the Ohio Players, and, was in studio with them, and that was pretty cool. Life-changing experience, because it's like, these are guys that I grew up listening to, and here I am in studio with them, and they're like handing it over to me saying, do it. So it was pretty cool. So 96, 97, I'm like, I'm done. I gave up radio. I slowly gave up the music industry. I love Brother Reese. I love you, bro. So I still did a couple DJ, family events. We did this annual thing at Lake Berryessa where I always did for some cousins, and I did a few corporate parties, and then at one point I just said, okay, I'm done, completely done. And this was before my two youngest kids were born. So
wow,
put everything in the garage, and I completely stopped, got out of the business completely, and I changed my life completely and went a whole different direction. A couple different things I did. I ran a demolition company for somebody. I went to Home Depot. I ran commercial sales for Home Depot. And then I got my own ambrosia. My brother loves, I play ambrosia every once in a while. So I got out of, I started a whole new life. I just radio and, of course I always still loved music and I always had music playing at all times, taught my kids all about music. My second to youngest son, I mean, he would pull up Carpenter songs and loved Carpenter music or I would test them and I would say, okay, who's this? And I'd play a song and they'd have to listen and figure out whose voice that was and was on it, And it's like, okay, you knew Stevie, and then they start doing this, and it's like, okay, Stevie Wonder. So, music has always been a big, big part of my life. But the radio industry and the record companies and all of that stuff, it was done for me. I was completely done, and that was around 97. And then a couple years.
What made you come back?
Okay, a few years ago, I got invited. Well, a couple things. First of all, one, I found out that Michael Erickson had passed away, and that was pretty devastating to me. And then a couple years later, Cameron Paul passed away, and that was really hard for me.
Those were your peoples.
Yeah, and and I'm at Cameron's memorial, and people are like, "Dude, you're the last one. There were just 3 of you back then. And what are you gonna do? Or are you gonna? I got offered from a couple people to come and do a memorial DJ for Cameron Paul, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It's like I hadn't been DJing in so long, and I didn't think I could do him righteous by DJing and not being on top of my game. So I did, Radical Rich from Studio 47, which was a huge, huge San Jose club back in the day, offered me to come and do the memorial service there for him and DJ. I'm like, I just can't do it. So I didn't do it. I went to Chewy's. I got invited to Chewy Gomez, who's a huge, huge name in love you, brother. Chewy Gomez is a huge name in Bay Area radio. And Chewy actually worked for us at KSOL at the beginning. And I remember when he came in as an intern and, worked his way up and spent many, many years as KML's morning guy and then went to a couple other radio stations. But he's a huge name here. He had his 50th birthday party. And so I show up at the birthday party. And everybody that I knew from back in the day was there. I mean, we're talking about a couple hundred, easily a couple hundred people that were all DJs, and pictures were being taken and people were shaking hands. Oh my God, Tony, where have you been? Because I've been completely out of the industry. And a lot of these people were still in the industry and still DJing, doing the clubs, still doing, and everyone's like, where have you been? We have not heard from you at all. Where have you been? And I'm like, I'm done with this. And it's funny because, I'm there with my wife and we're walking around and everyone's like, oh, Tony, you're a legend, blah, 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 blah. A couple of guys are walking up to my wife and go, do you know who this guy is? Do you know who he was? My wife goes, yeah, we've been married for 30 years. I know who he is.
I kind of know who he is.
I got 3 kids with him. So, yeah, I know exactly who he is. So, but it was funny, it felt good, to be recognized and for people to actually come up to me and say, we miss you and, you need to get back in. And at the time, everyone starts streaming. They're streaming on Instagram. And all of a sudden, they're like, dude, old school is back. You need to start doing old school. Come back and stream. Double Barrel Daryl, who is big out here also, and he's big on the streaming scene, and he does a lot of clubs around the country. I mean, radio stations around the country now. He's hitting me all the time. Dude, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it. DJ Maine, same thing. DJ Maine's here. Was here earlier. DJ Maine, come on, dude, you got to do it. They had a show called The Show that they do every Saturday, and they had jocks every hour, the jock had their own hour to do whatever they wanted to do.
Wow.
And it for 2 years now. So Daryl says, dude, just send me a tape. So I sent him a tape. I sent Alex Mejia a tape. I sent Chewy a tape. And they're all like, dude, you still got it. Do it. Come back, dude.
Alex Mejia, DJ.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because at the same time, Alex calls me and says, hey, I'm going to be doing these club events, and I want you to come out with me and do these club events. So him and I did these club events, which is like really, really rare for me because I hadn't DJed in the public in
years,
5 years. So we did these clubs, and it was exhilarating. It was fun. It was nice to get back out there. To know, one of the events had a decent amount of people. The other event had hardly anybody, but it was just fun to be out there with my peoples doing what I loved. So I put together these tapes. Everybody says you need to do it. So I said, okay, put me on the show. I turned to Daryl. I said, put me on the show for next weekend. He says, okay. So he gives me a time slot. He's like, okay, you're on at 1:00. So I said, okay, cool. So we start streaming live, and I was like, this is fun. You got people interacting with us.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. It was pretty fun, right? And little did I know, I found out later, by the way, that they had actually, in their group, because they had a group back then where they would chat, they had actually asked amongst each other, hey, Tony Valera is going to do a set. Are you guys all okay with that? And supposedly everyone's like, oh, yeah, that's cool. We want him to do a set. So I found this out later, by the way. So I did the set. The next, this is on a Saturday. On Wednesday, I get a group text, and it says, hey, fellas, here's the schedule for this weekend, and I'm on it again. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I thought I was doing one set. What's this? And both Maine and Daryl said, nah, dude, you're on. You're once you get one set, you're here with us now. You got the 1:00 hour every week. So I start doing it every week. And next thing you know, people's schedules are getting busy. People are doing this, doing that. And our schedule didn't come out for the 1 week till like Friday. And so I'm like, because we did juggle some people in and out different hours, right? So I'm like, uh-oh. So I put together the schedule myself, and I sent it over to Maine and Double Barrel Daryl, because they were the ones who started this, right? And they're like, cool, roll with it, do it. So I sent it out as a group text. Next thing you know, I'm doing the schedule every week.
Just like old times, right?
That's the funny thing, because Daryl mentions to me all the time. He goes, dude, it's just like the old times. He goes, you just take over and you just do you.
Just go
of course,
ahead and
with
go.
most DJs, there are some personality issues. There's some conflict sometimes, but we are a very tight knit family. But sometimes there's some heads that butt, and there's some things that happen, on the down low. And it's funny because they always reached out to me and, hey, Tony, can you address this? Like, dude, I'm one of you guys. I'm like, no. But you're like the grandfather here. You're like the godfather. You guys
they want to kiss your ring, huh?
Yeah, they would ask me for stuff, and I'm like, okay, cool. Next thing you know, at first Daryl's like, Daryl and May was like, this is our show, so we don't want to put you in that position where you're having to make decisions and piss people off, because you shouldn't be in that position.
Right.
It's not cool, so I'm like, cool, you guys handle it. Next thing you know, I'm getting these calls saying, hey, bro, can you handle this? Again, from Daryl or May, can you handle this issue? Or next thing you know, I'm like, okay, I'm back in the game. And so, I've been doing the scheduling now for a year and a half or so.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun. And, we reach out to other people and bring other people in. And, with COVID, it was pretty easy to get people on board because nobody was working. Nobody was out there. So, our show went from like sometimes 10 in the morning till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
All day long, we'd have 14 jocks going. Sometimes now it's tough because of in real life gigs and, you know, people going back to work and everything. Sometimes I'll ask somebody, hey, can you pull 2 hours on this Saturday? Can you do 2 hours? Or I'll do 2 hours or whatever, you know, or we'll bring guests in on the show. And then at one point there were, it was me, Prince Ice, DJ May, DJ Blade, and DJ Ajax. I know you were, brother.
Brother Reese.
The five of us decided we wanted to do a spin-off of the show. So we started this show called The Mix. And what we wanted to do, the whole preface of the show was that we wanted to use us 5 guys, but we wanted to bring streamers from outside of our network.
Right.
And place it in between each of us so that we were getting their viewers and they were getting our viewers, and we were feeding each other new viewers and getting more followers. And so we started something on our own, going Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. We eventually dropped off to Sunday, but we're now still doing Tuesday and Thursday. And we've been doing it, I think, over a year now. But the 5 of us put this together. We get together and we pull people from outside, and if we can stream on it, we will. You know, it's tough now with work and everything else. I'm hardly ever streaming on Tuesday and Thursdays. Yeah, kind of, but you know, we're all still a family, and we all, you know, we still all get together. We talk all the time. You know, we have a group text of 14 of us close knit, and we chat amongst each other. We joke sometimes. It got to a point sometimes where, like, a couple of the jocks are like, dude, you guys got to stop. You're blowing up my phone. Can you guys do a separate? So we dropped down to 13. There originally was 15. Then it dropped down to 13 on that stream, but we still have the other 14. And so we are very tight. We lost one of our brothers in August. And it was really tough for all of us. He was actually Double Barrel Daryl's best friend. He'd been on the show from the beginning. I actually met him 30 years ago, and didn't even realize who he was after we had been streaming together for a year. He finally told me, hey, you know that we met 30 some odd years ago in a club, and you inspired me to go into the radio field and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I remember working at that club, but you know, I don't remember the conversation. But he had dropped out of the show for a while, and I had been trying to get a hold of him, trying to get him back in. And you know, it's weird because like 3 weeks before he passed, he was scheduled to be on the show, and then power outage at his house, so he couldn't go on. So then the next week I reached out to him again. Hey, we need you to come back. He's like, you know, I didn't hear from him. The following week, it was a Friday, and I reached out to him and didn't hear back from him. And then later in the afternoon, he hits me back and he's like, hey, I can do something on the show tomorrow. And I'm like, dude, we're already filled. We're going from noon to midnight. I said, but if you want to do 11 o'clock, we'd love to have you do 11 o'clock. He's like, yeah, what the hell? I'll do 11 o'clock. So he does the 11 o'clock hour. It's nice to have him back. Partners are, you know, we're all together again. Guys are streaming in and sending him, you know, followers and this and that. And it was nice that we rekindled the relationship. We were all brothers again. And that evening, he had a heart attack and passed away. And so it was pretty hard for a lot of us. LP, Leslie Perez. So
wow.
But Yeah, so we're still doing, we're doing the show every Saturday. We've been doing it over 2 years. Um, and then Tuesday and Thursdays we do another spinoff called The Mix. I brought back the KSOL shirts because people were asking about them, so I'm like, I'm bringing them back. They're old school shirts, and I'll send you one, bro. I will send you one.
I'll definitely hit you with the address.
For sure. So you were asked the question that I
And it led up to this.
avoided.
Why are you looking to give this all up now? Since you got back into the game, it seems like you're having a good time, but you also stated that you've lost some people too. I don't know if that's taking a real toll on you or not.
It is.
So
Losing people has, I've always been, my whole life, I've always been, an easygoing, I've tried to be a cool person to everybody, tried to be remembered as a good guy. I've always tried that. Never burned any bridges, ever. And
we got mom and your brother on the line, so don't be telling those stories.
I that's the life that I've lived, and it's funny because I don't claim to be. I see people all the time who, and I'm not, I'm not casting any stones or anything, but there's people who want to throw religion out there and say God saved me, and I'm a follower of Jesus and this and that. When I was 18, I actually I met a guy who turned me on to the Bible in a different sense than we grew up going to Catholic, going to Sunday school and catechism and all that other stuff.
Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
He was a born again Christian, and I went to his church, and I was saved back then. It's 18 years ago. I mean, I was 18 years old, 40 years ago. I was actually 17 at the time. It was right before I got out of high school. And so I've always lived my life, trying to be a decent person. In the last 6 months or so, I've lost some, I've lost a lot. Like I said, it's actually happened more than 6 months ago, with me losing Michael Erickson, Cameron Paul, back in, I think it was April. I didn't even know this, but there was a young lady who was a good friend of mine when we were kids, and we had lost touch. We hadn't spoken, and a friend of mine told me she had passed a couple months ago. Told me she had passed, and it was pretty hard because we were cool. We hadn't spoken in, God, I don't think we've spoken in over 40 years. But it was like, people are just dropping, and then, people in the industry, people that and then it was, I guess it started the day after LP passed, because the day before LP passed was a 2-year anniversary of Bobby Roquet's passing. And I was pretty tore up, and that was the same week that I found out about my friend Jackie, who passed away. So I was pretty tore up that Saturday. Wow. It was hard for me to even do my show. So it was a tough day. And then early Sunday morning, I get a call from Daryl telling me about LP, and it was just, it was just like 3 strikes. It was just devastating to me. At that point, I started doing these posts on Instagram. I do a video post, and I talk about, the positive, and I talk about just about everything. Something comes to mind overnight. I wake up thinking about something, and I'll go for my morning walk or my morning jog, and I'll stand and do a video. And I'm hoping they're inspiring. And I've gotten people who told me, they really love seeing the videos or any of the posts that I put up. Because sometimes I'll put up just a plain little post, say, talking about this or that. They're usually all pretty positive. And so a lot of things are happening in my life. I'm getting older, and there's so much. Gosh, there's so much bull, so much bull crap that goes on in social media, and so much.
Oh yeah, if you let it will get to you.
It can get to you, and I started thinking just the other day. I was talking with somebody who I thought was a friend. We've known each other for over 30 years, and he had said something to me that I was like, "You're not really a friend," And I told him straight up, "You're not an. Oh yeah, I'm a friend. I've always been your friend." But like, no, you're not really my friend. I mean, we're cool. We know each other, and at one point I thought we were friends, but you're not really my friend. And I started thinking, with the social media, and everything that everybody does, and all the stuff that people put forth, it's taking a toll on me. As much as I love doing the posts and doing the messages, I've been really thinking about just signing off completely, just getting completely off of Instagram, completely off of Facebook. No more Twitch, no more streaming. I mean, I did it. I got out of the limelight, 25 years ago. Why shouldn't I do it now? My life I've got a different focus now in my life, and things are changing, and I need to be happy. And a lot of times it's happening in social media or just in everyday life isn't as pleasant and isn't making me as happy as I want to be.
Right. Well,
I've been talking around a lot.
Let me give you some words of wisdom that I've been taking myself. Sometimes you do need a break. I've been doing this DJ interview show from June 1st of 2020. You're episode 85. Now, I do a lot of other streaming. I got probably over 210 live streams under my belt, and you do start to feel the burnout. Now, I did take a break before this interview here. I took a break because I really needed it. I was in the process of moving to another state, and I just couldn't get. It's a lot of logistics that go on. Exactly what you're doing. It's a lot of logistics that go on with setting up this DJ interview, finding the DJs. Every DJ that I talk to don't get interviewed because some of them don't know how to talk. Some of them use curse words in every other word, and I keep this as family friendly as possible. Yeah, absolutely. A few slip out, but I keep it as family friendly as possible. And it's just a lot of logistics that go on with putting on a show, as you are with your DJ stuff. And sometimes you just need a couple of weeks to not do it. To
couple of years,
couple of months, and you may be energized to do. One of the reasons why I started this DJ interview is the DJ all of a sudden became the backseat of everything. They're the music maker, the music provider, but you don't see DJs unless you have a name that get interviewed. And a lot of you guys have stories. You got DJ Brother Reese here. You got a whole bunch of other DJs in this stream watching right now that have a story and probably hasn't had an outlet or anybody asked, let me interview you, the DJ. You don't have to be a Jazzy Jeff or any name brand. You just gotta have some stories. There's local DJs that have just their area. They're a star in their area. And then, I got connected with Jeff. And he put me in contact with you guys on the West Coast, because a lot of us cats on the East Coast don't know about you guys, but you guys are legend on the other side of the water. So, in saying that, sometimes you do need just a rest and a break to step away from it all. Let it go. Go do other stuff. Go learn other stuff. Go be happy. And then see if you want to come back. I know it's a lot of people here. We still got, over 20 people watching live. And a lot of them really don't want you to go nowhere, but but you do need that break sometime. So, if that helps in any of the decisions, no matter which way it goes, I did it and took a break, and now I'm a little re-energized. I was tired before I got on this interview because I just traveled 12 hours in a monsoon. It rained the whole way coming from Illinois to Virginia, and my body is tired. But talking to you just for the first few minutes when we got on, it was energizing. So it's like, you take that break if you need it.
I took a 25-year break this time.
If you take it that long, you're gonna be really old. You're gonna have gray hair.
I hope I'm still around in 25 years. You mentioned your hair, by the way. I think this is the first time he's actually seen me. I shaved my head this last weekend. It's like 2 days ago. Shaved my head for the first time. I wanted to be just like Prince Ice. So I'm shaving my head. I want to be just like him. When I grow up, I'll be just like Prince Ice.
Well, I still got my hair, and I still can grow it at will. I know some people lost that privilege years ago, but I still have it. And I'm a rock it until I lose it, if ever.
Yep, for sure.
So, do you have any shout outs to anybody while we're wrapping this thing up?
Oh gosh, of course, my mom, my brothers.
Shout out to mom. Shout out to the brother.
My sisters, my wife, my kids. I have 4 amazing boys that are just. I'm proud of each and every one of them because they're just amazing kids. I say kids. My oldest is 38. We have 2 grand.
I'm assuming this is one of them.
That's my oldest. That's the 38.
The favorite son.
Yeah, he always says that. The funny thing is, his siblings say that too. But actually, Mike was with me. Me and his mom split up when he was 4 years old. And he came and lived with me. So I was a single dad. And Mike was with me through the whole KSOL Wild 107 years. I mean, he met everybody. He's got pictures with, everybody. Run DMC, Fresh Prince, Stacy Ladisaw, Howard Stewart.
Wow.
He met just about everybody. Yeah, and it's funny because at one point somebody at the radio station actually made cards, business cards. When I had my business cards at KSOL, they had. There's one of my best friends, Mike Padilla. They had business cards made for him that said Mike Valera, Daddy's Helper, and they were the KSOL business cards. He was so much a part of the radio station and my life back then. So,
Right.
And so DJ Blade, that's Mike Padilla. He says he's lurking right now.
I know.
It's funny because Mike Padilla, his name is Michael Anthony Padilla, and my name is Michael Anthony Valera, and we have so many things in common. It's amazing. We just met each other about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and he's actually one of my best friends.
Wow,
just a great guy.
That's nice.
Yeah, and we sometimes do things that's like, damn, dude, I just said that, or we say things at the same time in our group chats. One of the brothers in our group chat, but we'll like do things or think of things or programming. He helps me with the scheduling, and we'll both think of the same person or the same group of people at the same time. But he's a great guy. He's my IT guy too, so he helps me with my streams.
Now, DJ brother Reese said, "We love you, TV." What is with this TV music man, or where did that name come from?
My initials, TV, Tony Valera.
Okay.
So when I was really, really young, when I first started DJing, the name of my company was TJ Enterprises, because I had a buddy of mine who was in. But my license plate on my car said TVMusicman. So people have always known me as TVMusicman or just TV. And it was funny because when I was on the radio, I would come on and say, "Hey, how's it going? This is Tony Valera. It's TV on your radio," and it just kind of stuck. So,
okay. I just
Brother
wondered.
Reese is a great guy. Brother Reese is another one of our brothers in the show family, and
I'd like to get all you guys on if you want.
really met Brother Reese about 2 years ago, and he's just amazing. His wife Norma is amazing. His daughter Brooklyn, his son Elijah, right? Eli. God, why am I forgetting your son's name? But they're just a
Ole, just say I'm over 50.
Yeah, I hear you. Just a great group of people, and love them to death. I'll show up, and it's funny. I go over to Brother Reese's house to just swing by and bring him something or whatever the case may be. And he's like, "You hungry?" I'm like, "No, not really." "Yeah, you're hungry." And he'll whip me up chorizo and eggs. I'm like, "Oh, really?" He'll get out the stove and start cooking chorizo and eggs. Or at one point she was selling cookies to, help fund some of her education and some other things she was doing. And cookies were amazing. And she was shipping them too. She started shipping them. So make sure you get some of Brooklyn's cookies. But since I've changed my diet, I can no longer eat those cookies. But like I said, a few months ago, I made a lot of changes in my life. I used to be, my streams used to have, people used to tease and say, this stream is sponsored by Mountain Dew, because I lived on Mountain Dew. I mean, day and night, that's all I drank. Hated water, never drank water. And a few months ago, I gave up Mountain Dew completely, 100%. And I am now drinking 1.5 to 2 gallons of water a day.
Good.
Eating right. No more of Brooklyn's cookies. No, no sweets. No eating late. Trying to get, at least, I've lived my whole life on really about 3 or 4 hours of sleep every single every night, and I can survive on 3 or 4 hours sleep. So I'm starting to like sleep 6 hours now because they say you're supposed to get more sleep, and doing regular health visits, which I never did for
Yeah.
forever. Walking 3 to 5 miles every day religiously. And it's funny because in the last 3 weeks, I dropped about 22 pounds, and it
That's
feels good.
good. Yeah,
And
it really does. That's why I was teasing
yeah,
Jeff about the double X. I didn't drop down, the same thing. Just, walking enough and doing things and moving really got me. I dropped about 15 pounds. I was 220 something but before I started moving, and I got down to as low as 210
wow.
from moving. Not like moving this, but physically moving to another state. And it's like, wow.
Oh, it's so funny. I'm actually on. You can't see it now, but I'm actually on Twitch. I log because when we signed up for this, it said you could log on to your Twitch account, and
Yeah.
there's people on my Twitch too. So Miss Tracken's there,
Miss
Dog Pound,
Tracking. How you
my
doing?
buddy Dog Pound 39, Kevin Keith, another one of our longtime friends. Um, of course, my sister-in-law Mimi's there. Um, that's DJ Pro Styles is there. Right on. Thank you so much. Of course, DJ Don Julio, great guy, DJ Don Julio.
Yeah. I've seen him
It wasn't
on.
like, see, I had it right. I had it right.
I've
Well, did
seen.
I say Elijah? It's Elias. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, you said that the first time.
Great family. But yeah, so I've changed my lifestyle, and I need to be healthier, and I need to focus more on being happy. And sure, there are a lot of things in social media. Obviously the relationships and the friends that I have
Yeah.
are good, and they're positive, and they make me feel good. And there's some people from social media that I don't know personally, but they've always been supportive, and I
Yeah.
love them for that. Um, um, and I thought about if I leave social media, like I'm really considering doing, that some of those people I will lose contact with. Um, a lot of the people that you're seeing here, they all have my phone number. And they know how to get a hold of me, and I know how to get a hold of them, and I keep in touch with them, on the regular anyways. But there are some people that have recently started following, and newer friends that that I would miss, just the positive energy and the support. So what city are you?
DJ X Tech. I'm in right now I'm in Fredericksburg, Virginia. But I'm
Fredericksburg. It's funny you're in Fredericksburg. I'm a demolition contractor, by the way.
uh-huh.
That's what I do full time. I have my license. I'm a licensed demolition contractor. I have my own company. My appraiser because I do deconstruction, where we deconstruct houses for tax purposes, for donations. Homeowners deconstruct the houses. They donate all the materials to a nonprofit organization. But in order to do that, they need a qualified appraiser to put a value on that.
Ah.
Both of my appraisers are out of Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Yeah, wow. I'm up here for a couple of weeks chilling with my son who's not even here right now.
Nice.
But I'm down in the just recently moved down to the southern part of Illinois about 15, 20 minutes outside of St. Louis, not the Chicago area. Chicago's about 5.5 hours going up
Right.
from where I am. So yeah, I'm assuming DJ X Tech, you in this area or somewhere? Put in the chat. Let me know. Yeah. So how could people stay in contact with you? I know you're getting ready. You're thinking about leaving this whole social media thing. I would suggest you take a break, but it's you, and you got to do what's best for you.
Right. I think on my Facebook, my actual phone number is on my Facebook profile.
Okay.
I think.
You just told all 3.5 billion people your phone number. You go.
It is what it is. I mean, if someone wants to get a hold of me, I'm completely transparent. So, if someone wants to get a hold of me, they can get a hold of me. Obviously, email or my phone number. Like I said, I own a company, so my company is out there, and so people know how to get a hold of me there. Almost all of my friends have my number and know how to get a hold of me. Even though some of us communicate a lot on social media, a lot of us still communicate via phone or text. I'm not a big text. It's funny because I don't really like to text a lot because a lot can be lost in text.
For real. Between caps and people reading stuff wrong.
It's funny because our group that I said, the not the 14, but the guys who branched off and did the show, at the beginning stages, there was one situation where I asked a question. I said something about who told, there's OG Rod G. Yeah, OG. Yeah. So thank you, I'm smooth. So something was said. I had mentioned something in the chats to these guys in a group text, and 3 of the guys took it wrong. Took it as if I was overpowering, and I was that I was trying to establish dominance in our group. And I'm like, no, I was just asking just to ask. So, but until we actually got to the bottom of it, there was some real upset people. We like, nobody wanted to talk to each other. And it went for a couple of days until we finally got to the point where it's like, I didn't mean it like that. It was just, but it was just a text. It was just,
really?
It
could get misinterpreted really quick.
It's so funny because I recently just texted somebody, and I said, don't forget we need to finish. And I was giggling when I said it, right? I said, don't forget we need to finish our conversation. That was what the text said, right? They took it as, don't forget we need to finish this conversation. And it's like, and it got to the point where they didn't want to have nothing to do with me for a week. Nothing. Just, and I'm like, what the hell? Are you there? What's going on? What's happening? Hello, are you okay? Nothing. Radio silence for a whole week. And then all of a sudden I get a text saying, hey, if you want to talk, I'll be available later on. I'm like, okay, and then I'm like, so what pissed you off? And it was said that pissed you off because it sounded like you were demanding, and I'm like, it was a giggle, it was a joke, it was, I was laughing about it, saying, don't forget, we need to finish this conversation. But you took it as demanding. So. Yeah, that's another legend right there. OG Raji, that dude. He's the real deal. We need to get him on this for sure.
I'd love to get everybody I can.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, before we get off again, what do you think about this concept of the DJ interview? Do people bang down your doors to want to interview you, or DJs?
I get it every once in a while. I get a couple people who want to do it, but it's different than during the time that I was really actively in the business. When I was in the business, man, my phone was ringing off the hook. People not gonna. I mean, what we're doing now is so small compared to what we were doing then, and even what I'm doing now is so small compared to what some of the big dogs are doing right now.
Right.
I mean, there are streamers out there that are just amazing. Have 5,000-6,000 followers, 10,000 followers. Have and they're on Twitch. They're streaming and they're doing. They've got 250 people in their stream, just grooving with them. And I'll be happy if I got 30 or 40 people in my room, and it is what it is, but to me, I got back into it because it was fun and I liked doing it. Of course, Mom. Business he does. But it's I just do it because it's fun, and it's also fun if I can reach out to somebody with the music.
Yes.
And make them feel good about a song or songs that they hadn't heard in a long time, or that they never thought they would hear in a mix show. Then it makes me feel better. When I get these. I'll go into other people's streams and they're like, "Oh my God, Tony's here and Tony played X black. And I can't believe he's the only person I know who can get away with playing."
Could get away with that. Somebody else said that.
Yeah, Brother Lee says it. Twitch has been amazing. No more radio handcuffs. And like I said, I don't have a huge following. In fact, I have a small following. I think I'm in the low 900s right now, where there's people who are hitting 3, 4, 5, 6,000 followers, and it's great. And I don't do it for the followers. Right. I do it because I love the music, and it's always nice. It's always nice when people appreciate, or I put a smile on someone's face.
Yep.
Because of the music that I play. And that's that's part of why I do the video posts that I do, or the messages that I put out there, because a lot of times there's messages that I'll put out there that people want to hear. There was one I put out the other day that said something like, sometimes the guy who's there, or sometimes the person who's there for everybody needs somebody to be there for them.
Yeah.
And
so true.
You don't really think about that stuff. You think about the person who's always there for you, but you don't think about the other side of that and say, hey, wait a minute. He needs somebody, or she needs somebody at this specific time.
Yep.
And yep. So,
well,
it's what we do. We share the music.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what I wanted to do with the DJ interview. I wanted to make sure the DJs have a face too. You're a real person. You go through real stuff. You're just not that person that plays music.
Well, sometimes I don't want people to see who I am.
And to get that deeper connection, and to tell your story before somebody else tells your story.
Yeah, and you know, like again, we talk about this all the time. It's like right place, right time. But you know, so many things have happened in my life that have been blessings, and it's like these things. And I don't think my life's any more special than anybody else's, but certain things have happened in my life that people like to hear about, just like
Yep.
I like to hear about somebody else's life and things that have
Exactly.
happened in somebody else's life. It's like, you know, it's nice to hear the feel good stories or the wow, that really happened type stories. And you know, who'd have known that, you know, I was going to be in the parking lot at Pebbles record release party when MC Hammer drove up in his car and had records in the back in the trunk of his
I
car
know.
to me. He knew who I was because I was in radio, you know,
Yep.
so he knew who I was, and he handed me the records, and the rest is history, as it goes. So,
Yep.
you know, it's just it's crazy. I did an event once in San Francisco, and not a whole lot of people can say this, but I did an event once in San Francisco, and Bill Clinton shows up,
Wow.
and it's like, you met Bill Clinton? Yeah, Bill Clinton was on stage with
Yeah,
us.
he was at one of my parties.
Yeah, he was, you know, we were gigging together. So, but, true story. Okay, I got to tell this story because I know you'll get a kick out of this, and I told it on the last interview that I did. I'm at the BAMIs. Okay, the BAMIs are the Bay Area. They're like the Grammys, but Bay Area artists do what's called the BAMIs. It's been going on for 30 some odd years. Bill Graham Presents used to put it on. So I'm at the after party. I couldn't go to the BAMIs because I wasn't big enough to be at the BAMIs. But I go to the after party. I walk in, and everybody who was somebody in the Bay Area music scene was at this event. I mean, everybody.
After party.
You walked in,
Right.
you saw Grace Slick. You saw Jefferson Starship, Jefferson Airplane. You saw the Doobie Brothers. You saw, Journey. You saw Eddie Money. Just
Wow.
everybody. The Whispers. You know, anybody who was anybody in the music business. In Bay Area music business was there, and people from outside the Bay Area too were there because it's the BAMIs.
Of course.
So me and my buddy walk up. We sit at the bar. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Nothing. So I'm sitting at the bar, and this dude's sitting next to me. And my buddy wants a drink. We get him a drink, and I'm sitting there and I'm drinking my soda, and the dude next to me got a joint, and he says, "You want to hit?" And I look at his face, and it's Rick James. And I'm like, "What? Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah, you want to hit?" I'm like, "What are you gonna do? Back to no COVID, no that." I'm like, "Hell yeah!"
I'll take it from you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm smoking pot with Rick James. I mean, who else can say that? Who else can say that they smoke pot with Rick James?
Probably a lot of people.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But so we're smoking a joint there, and then I turn to the bartender and I say, "Get Rick whatever he wants." He goes, "Dude, are you serious? It's Rick James. He's gonna get whatever he wants, regardless of you or anybody else." So, okay, you got me there. So, those are things that happen in your life. It's like, wow, you just don't. It's amazing the stuff that has happened in my life. Meeting guys like Roger and Zap. Roger, riding into a concert at the Warfield on, guys carrying him, and he's, playing his guitar and using his vocoder wirelessly, and it's like, the stuff like that you just don't see every day, and people like to hear that. People like to hear about those types of stories. Going backstage at the New Music Seminar, and hanging out with just about every single artist in music back in the mid 80s. This is when freestyle was at its peak, being backstage and hanging out with, with Grandmaster Flash, Melly Mel, all the freestyle artists. And it's just things that you just don't.
My homegirl Angel from the Cover Girls.
Oh yeah, love the Cover Girls. My girl is Betty D from Sweet Sensation. She's a friend. So yeah, so we talk every once in a while still. So it's nice. It's nice to Valerie Gay from New Shoes. Great girl.
Oh man. So let me ask you, did you get drops from all of these artists that you met? Or
Back
any
in the
of them?
day, I had drops like crazy. I have no drops right now. I have 3 people's drops. I have obviously Betty D, Sweet Sensation. She did drops for me. Michael Cooper, since he's my boy. Michael did drops for me from Function. And then Pebbles. Pebbles did some drops for me. So Pebbles was hard too, though, because like I reached out to her. I'm like, Pebbles, I need some drops. And she says, okay. And like never heard from her again. 6 months later, I get a message from her and say, do you still need those drops? I'm like, who is this? I kind of played up. Who is this? He says, come on, really? I'm like, of course I need drops. I've been waiting 6 months for them. So she sent me the drops. So yeah, so I don't have a whole lot of drops, and I'm sure I could get some drops. I was just talking to the Egyptian Lover. I'm sure I can get some drops from him if I wanted some, or and again, I'm going to tell you. I know we're going on and on and on. We're over 2 hours now.
Oh,
real quick story. So I'm watching, the NWA movie, not Boys in the Hood. What was the
Straight Outta Compton?
Straight Outta Compton. Okay, so I'm watching it, and I'm watching the scene where Easy goes into the record company where they press the records, and he walks in there and picks up the vinyl and walks out, right? And I'm thinking to myself, I was freaking there that day that Easy walked in and picked up the records.
Wow.
And it's a trip because I had an artist named Brandon at the time who was touring with Stevie B. And I was his manager, and I did the remixes for him, produced his song. And we were pressing records on Macola Records. Macola is the West Coast record manufacturing company. Everybody who was putting records out back then, Ruthless, all of those records, everybody was going through Macola Records. But because Macola Records would press the records and you could put your own label on it. But Macola Records was So Hammer, NWA, everybody on the West Coast who was doing records were doing it at Macola Records. So we pressed Brandon's records at Macola Records at the same time that NWA was pressing their stuff. And I was down there picking up Brandon's record, and I'm in the lobby hanging out with all of it. We got Dre, we got Cube, we got Arabian Britain,
the crew,
right? And I'm like, back then they were just coming up. It was no big deal. I had artists, I knew artists, I was in the industry. So it was like, it was all, just cool. It was cool to hang out with people. But then when I saw the movie, I'm like, holy crap. That scene is the scene. I was there when that was happening. So that was kind of cool.
That is funny.
And by the way, last year earlier this year, I went down to LA and I went over to Macola Records, which is no longer there, but the building's still there. And I took some pictures of the outside the building and posted. I'm like, does anybody know what this is? And then I posted the address, and all of a sudden people are going, Macola Records, Macola Records, Macola Records. So people know, people remember, but they're no longer in business.
So let me do a drop for you right now, since you need one. You ready?
Sure.
The Bay Area's own DJ Tony Valera.
Love it. Love it.
That was live.
I actually had somebody who did drops, a voice guy do drops for me for my shows.
I'm changing careers.
Yeah, you get some jobs. I'm trying to get Mitch Craig to do something for me. Mitch Craig used to do all the old KSOL drops, so I'm trying to get. He's still in business. I'm trying to get him to do some drops for me.
Some people just got that voice.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. This is good. I like this. This is something you should be doing with a lot more DJs, because it gives us the opportunity to tell our story.
Yeah.
And people learn more about us that they didn't know.
I'm glad Jeff connected, me with the West Coast guys.
Jeff's
that just brings
awesome.
brings it a smaller world. You guys have stories, and I've interviewed a lot of East Coast, but I know about some of this stuff already because I've either lived it or I heard about it. You guys' stories are so amazing because although you got the influence from old school New York, you went and changed it and created your own thing too.
Yep.
Which was strictly either Bay Area or LA or, Oakland. It was just strictly those areas. And, I just love the stories you guys tell. So
yeah,
reach out to me when you guys are ready. Everybody, all the DJs that's on here that's not scared to get on the camera and just talk and have a conversation.
Yeah, every single one of these DJs, they all have a story, and
I know
there's a lot of history in West Coast DJs. So OG Raji, Brother Reese, DJ X Tech. I mean, you got DJ Man was on here earlier. Did you do Prince Ice yet?
Yes.
Yeah, Prince Ice. Now that's a story
Prince
right there.
Ice, yeah. We actually got to do a part 2. He sent me one. He sent me his record, but he wrote on it, and I don't even want to open it up, so I gotta buy 2 more from him. Nasty Ness had him.
Oh, yeah.
Grand Mixer GMS.
Yeah, Nasty Ness.
Igor Beats.
Yeah. You did Alex Mejia too.
Alex Mejia, yep. And I'm getting you guys one by one, mixing it in with with East and West Coast.
You should do Chewy. You should do Chewy Gomez.
Let's get it set up.
Chewy is in Northern California.
Yo, DJ X Tech. When I heard that mix, this was the first one in 1990, and I heard it right like the week before I was gonna interview DJ Prince Ice, and I still play that mix almost every week since. And we interviewed months ago. Dope. And I listen and support all you guys. Everybody who I interviewed, I still listen to your mixes on occasion.
Yeah, you know what you should do? Since you went to my Mixcloud, you should go and check out my AC mix, my adult contemporary mix. It's 2 hours.
I surely will.
2 hours of adult contemporary music in the mix. So I mean, you're going to hear stuff like we talked about, Ambrosia.
Yeah.
The Wings. You're going to hear Journey. You're going to hear Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
Yes, and I listen to all of that. My preferred genre is disco. because like you stated earlier, it's music that takes you to a place when everything was just all right.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
And to get that people to take those people on a journey like that, so you can just sit and actually enjoy, like, yo, I remember that song. Oh, yo.
Well, and it's funny because when you listen to current hip hop compared to hip hop from back in the day, I mean, a lot of times I'm playing songs, and a lot of DJs like to get in and out. You know, they'll try to get like 60 songs in an hour, or 50 songs.
Yeah, that's some quick mixing. I only learned about that earlier this year. The quick mix.
I play like 2 or 3 minutes of a song, and people are like, "Why do you play the whole song?" I'm like, because hip hop back then, they were telling a story.
Yo, 7.5 minutes worth.
You
listen all the way to the end. You know the lyrics to the end.
If you cut it off, you don't know what the ending is. Right. You don't hear the ending. You don't hear the end of Children's Story from Greg. Or it's like these
Nightmares, Dana Dane. You play that thing to the end. You don't know the whole story.
Exactly. You don't know the whole story until the very end. So that's why I like playing it. So.
Well, we gonna wrap this thing up. I just wanted to thank you for coming on and telling your story and just having a conversation, and everybody enjoyed it. You know, we had no less than 14 people on at a time.
Right on.
Which is
my buddy Ron Alonso. He's been a friend of mine DJ friend of mine for so many years.
What's up, Ron?
35 years. He was also one of the proteges from Bobby Roquet, and we actually used his girlfriend on Brandon's record to do some moaning on there, so it's pretty funny. But Ron's a great guy.
Put in the chat before we leave if you had a great time. Let us know. I know we went way past. Right now we had 2 hours 8 minutes.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes. Thanks, Jeff.
So.
Yep. Thank you, Jeff. Hold on. Let me get my Jeff shot in. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us and just
DJ Miss Kid. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
Now that is a story you need to tell right there. DJ Miss Kid. DJ Miss Kid is a DJ, and his daughter is a 9-year-old DJ who is amazing. Just amazing. She's on our shows. Yeah. And she does tricks. She plays old school. She plays a freestyle. She is just amazing. And sometimes they switch off where he'll do 30 minutes, she'll do 30 minutes, or she does a whole hour by herself. And she plays with the controller and does just some amazing work. And her mixing is on point, and she knows what she's doing, and she talks to the crowd. It's so great.
That is so dope. Does she have an old school heart? She plays the old school music?
She loves the freestyle. She plays some old school, but she mostly loves the freestyle. So, it's a blast whenever we get a chance.
Yeah, I interviewed Danny Easy D.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking to him today through Facebook. Oh, man.
But there's my mom. God bless you, Mom. I love you.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So Any last words before we clock out? I'm hungry now.
Me too. I had to rush over to. It's funny because I didn't know whether I was going to go home or if I was going to stay here, and then I had some more work to do here in the Bay. So I ended up. I'm like, okay, I got to get a hotel. Oh, I need to get a hotel so that I could do this interview because I ain't doing the interview at a fish site, right? So I get the hotel. I said I want the room with the studio, the separate studio in it, because I want to do the interview, which we didn't even use. But I'm like, okay, shit, it's 4:45. I got to hurry up and log on again because I think we had talked about maybe getting touching base at 4 o'clock. And then at 4:30. Then at 4:45, I finally get on. It's like.
No problem, bro. It was a pleasure just to hang out and chat with you. I'm looking at these messages, the last few before we clock out. But thank you, and thank everybody for watching.
Thank you.
This is
Thanks
Harry.
for doing it.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing it.
I mean, us DJs have a story too. It's not about the producers and rappers and everything. They get all of it. It's about us too. Without music at a wedding, it's a boring wedding, ain't it?
Oh, yeah.
But why does the DJ get paid less than the flowers cost?
I heard that.
So we got to fix that. We got to bring all of us to the forefront again.
Yeah.
And get our stories out there and get them told. Like you said, we're getting older now, and nobody knows your story. Yeah. Somebody cares to hear it.
I was doing a show every Thursday for a while there, and it was called Music and Memories. And I would take a specific year, and I would do the show, and I would play songs from that year, but I would also talk about what was happening in the world at that time, what was happening in the United States, what was happening in my life, the people I met, what was the number one songs. So we touched on what was happening in my life during that specific year. We did it for, I think we did it for about 12 weeks. And I did it from 1981 till like 1993, which was the last time I was programming, in the Bay Area. So I stopped doing it at that point, but I may get back to doing that again if I ever come back to social media. I don't know.
And like I said, my suggestion is take a break. Everybody needs it.
For sure.
DJ X Tech is saying, how do we follow the both of you? Well, you can find me pretty much on everything. We're streaming right now to 12 different platforms, but about 17 different places. A couple of Facebook accounts, a couple of YouTubes, LinkedIn Live. We're streaming to Twitch. You're streaming to different places, so we get around. Just look for me, Harry the Big Dog DJ Interview, and you'll find me. And some of you guys reach out to me if you want to come on. I'm getting back into the swing of things. Like I said, this interview got me energized again, and I'm gonna go through the end of the year, and then I'm gonna take a break again. So. Yes. All right, we gonna get out of here for real this time. Not an hour and a half ago. We wrapping this up. This is right Harry the Big Dog with my West Coast DJ Tony Valera, and every week we are here on Tuesdays, 8ish Eastern Time. So we will see you then.
Peace.